Okay, so this is my guide of how to rewire a blade. So I've already taken it apart and stripped the glue. What I'm doing now is I'm just sanding the channel. One of the important bits about rewiring is making sure that the glue is adhering directly to the blade, so you want to get out any old glue. So I usually go on a process of, I use a standing knife to try and remove glue. Sometimes you need to use a heat gun, which will help, and then sand it. Once I've finished sanding it, I just grab a wet wipe, and I'll use this just to clear out any of the glue that's left, any of the metal filings, anything that will stop the glue adhering properly to the blade. And then just at the end, check that the blade's clear. Next stage is to get your wire. So before you put the wire in, you want to make sure that the wire is straight. So make sure you don't grab the plastic contact, but instead just grab just below on the wire and just straighten out the wire all the way down to the end. Make sure it's not got any twists or tangled. So make sure it's not got any twists or that it's not tangled. So notice I'm holding it just below the contact when I straighten it. If you hold the plastic bit, you can rip the wires right out of it. Worth doing this a few times. Time spent here will make it a lot easier to get the wire straight. So next bit is I pass the wire through the barrel. So I pass it almost all the way, but then I just leave the contact outside. This is so you're not pulling the wire through whilst it's on the blade, where if the wire's got some burrs on the tip, it can rip the wire. So now I'm screwing it onto the barrel, so first of all I'm just doing it by hand. Once it's fairly tight, I'm going to grab some pliers and I'm going to grab the blade, being careful not to grab the wire. So I'm grabbing over the top of the channel, and then I'm going to grab a spanner or wrench. I'm just going to tighten the barrel. I don't use Loctite, I may in the future, but I just tighten it until it's reasonably tight. So you don't want to over tighten it where it'll crack, or under tighten it where the barrel will come loose. Notice I'm keeping the wire out of the way when I tighten. So once the barrel is on, you need to push the contact into the barrel. So to do this, it would be a good idea for me to get an applicator at some point, but for now I just use a 3D printed rod that I've made. And I just use that to, it doesn't only just push the tip into the barrel, but it also levels the two contacts, which will make the epee fire more reliably. So don't hammer this, just press it in, and then I always put a spring in the end, just to check it's about the right height. So this does seem a bit long, but I always shorten my screws anyway, my spring, sorry. Next bit is I'm going to clear the nozzle of the glue, so I try and use a thin screwdriver. This way the nozzle of the glue is quite small. This just means that less glue comes out. So this blade I didn't do too great, I put far too much glue in. So you want to put a lot of glue at the top to just make sure it all gets in. So I'm going back up and making sure there's plenty of glue up there. Then I'm just going all the way down the blade. As I said, I put far too much glue on this one, but I'll show you an example what it should look like. But if in doubt, more glue is better. Too much glue is better than too little. We're going to wipe it away anyway at the end. Yeah, this was far too thick. Part of it was because I was trying to record at the same time, and that was getting in the way. And also, I usually have a better angle to do this at. So I usually hold the tip with one hand and then place it on my knee. and then that way you can slide the blade along while it's gluing. Once you're gluing it, try and get it in the bottom of the channel, but as I said, because of the next step, it doesn't need to be exact, but try your best. And then with the end, you need to drop a load of glue into the forte. Don't go all the way down, I go about to there. You want to leave a bit at the end because inevitably it will run down a bit and you don't want it to go too far off the end of the tang. So this is an example of a blade I did a much better job, so you can see how thin the bead of glue all the way down the blade is, and you can see how it's right in the channel. So this is more what you want to go for. You can see it's very, very thin bead of glue. So next step is clamping the wire. So you can use a G-clamp. You can wrap it around the end of the tang, but I think that just necessarily bends and kinks the wire. So I use this clamp that I made that has a camming system. So you pull the wire through and then you twist the lever on the cam and it'll hold the wire in place. I'm doing it a bit high up here. I fix this later, but I should be doing, because the problem is it's not clamping because it's on the channel. But I'll fix it later. Just make sure you clamp it where there's not a channel, so you're actually clamping the wire to the tang. So this is the important bit. You're now going to use a wet wipe just to clear away any excess glue. So you're going all the way down the blade and just getting right into the groove and clearing all of the glue. So the only glue left after this should be the glue between the wire and the blade. Like, there shouldn't be any glue on top of the wire. I couldn't do it on this video, but off camera I bend the blade like a bow. That way it gets the wire right down into the groove and then you start wiping it. Once it's in the groove, if you make the blade straight again, the wire should stay down. So this just shows what it should look at the end. So notice how there's no excess glue on it, it's all been cleared away, but the wires look like they've got glue on. So like before, I'm just going to show you the blade that I did another time under better light. It's best to do this under as best light you can, so you can see how the glue, there's no glue, like it's all just, the only glue is on the wire itself. Make sure when you do it you clear on top of the wire, but also any glue that runs across the end of the blade and over onto the bottom of it, you clear that as well away as well. Hope that helps. Best of luck.